a rainy Tuesday afternoon, and there I am, sitting at my desk, surrounded by a fortress of textbooks, highlighters, and my trusty hazelnut coffee, my lifeline, my muse, my warm hug in a mug. Bella and Daisy, my schnauzers, are snoozing in their usual spots, completely oblivious to the intellectual chaos unfolding before me. And today's intellectual adventure, the etiology of addictions, or, as I like to call it, why do people do the things they do? Honestly, it's like peeling back the layers of a very complicated, very messy onion. So let's dive in, shall we? First up, etiology. Now, doesn't that sound fancy? It's one of those words that makes you feel like you're in a high-stakes academic drama, but really it's just a posh way of saying, where the heck does this come from? And in this case, we're talking about addiction, the causes, the triggers, the whole shebang. Right, here's the first big takeaway. Addiction, or at least alcohol abuse, has some developmental patterns. Imagine two paths. Path one, it's like a sprint. Starts early, mostly with boys, and just keeps going. Path two, a bit more of a slow burn, starts later, ramps up in middle school, then high school. But these aren't hard and fast rules, they're just patterns, not some inevitable prophecy. So if you're thinking, oh, that explains everyone. Nope, it doesn't. Humans are far too messy for that. Now let's talk genes, because apparently your DNA has a say in whether you're more prone to addiction. Got a parent or relative with alcohol issues? Your risk just shot up. And if you're a twin, here's a fun fact. Identical twins, MZ twins if you're feeling fancy, have a higher chance of both having alcohol problems compared to fraternal twins, DZ twins. It's like genetics is playing a sneaky little game of tag you're it. And adoption studies, oh, they're fascinating. Even when kids grow up in completely different environments, the genetic links to addiction still show up. It's like you can't outrun your DNA. Oh, and here's a quirky tidbit. Alcohol tolerance might be inherited. For example, studies show that many people of Asian heritage have a biological intolerance to alcohol, so their rates of abuse are lower. Genetics, you cheeky little thing. And smoking? Oh, it's got its own genetic drama. There's this SLC6AS gene that makes people less likely to smoke and more likely to quit. And if you've got a defect in the CYP2A6 gene, you're less likely to get hooked on nicotine. Who knew your genes could be such a buzzkill? Okay, now we're getting into the brainy stuff, literally. Dopamine, the star of the show, the Beyoncé of neurotransmitters. Every addictive substance, from alcohol to, well, everything else, lights up the dopamine system, especially in this fancy part of the brain called the mesolimbic pathway. It's like the brain's reward circuit throws a party every time it gets a hit. But here's the wild part. Just seeing a cigarette or a needle can trigger those reward circuits. It's like your brain goes, ooh, I know what that is, and starts craving. And for some unlucky folks, a deficiency in the dopamine receptor DRD2 makes them more vulnerable to addiction. It's like their brain's reward system is running on empty, so they're constantly chasing that high. Now let's talk feelings, because let's be honest, they're at the heart of everything. Mood alteration is a biggie. Alcohol might reduce anxiety, or maybe it just distracts you from it. Who knows? It's like the ultimate chicken and egg situation. And smoking? Same deal. But here's where it gets interesting. Expectations. If you believe alcohol will help you relax, you're more likely to drink. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Positive expectations and actual usage feed off each other, creating this feedback loop of, well, bad decisions. All right, let's get personal. Some personality traits make people more prone to addiction. Negative emotionality, basically feeling all the feels all the time, can push people towards substances. Then there are the thrill seekers, always chasing that next big high. But on the flip side, people with high constraint think risk-averse conservative values are less likely to fall into the addiction trap. Oh, and here's a fun, slightly alarming fact. Kindergartners who are anxious and love novelty, they're more likely to use substances as teens. Yep, it starts that early. Now, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Gender and culture play a huge role. Men drink more than women, but how much more depends on where you are. In England, men drink 3 times as much as women. In the Netherlands, it's only 1.5 times more. And family, if your parents drink, if there's marital discord, mental health issues, or a lack of emotional support, your risk goes up. And if your parents aren't keeping tabs on you, well, let's just say the stats aren't in your favor. Finally, let's talk about the people around you. Do you pick friends who drink, or do they influence you to drink? Honestly, it's a bit of both. And the media? Oh, it's got a lot to answer for. Countries that ban alcohol ads see 16% less consumption. Take that, capitalism. So, what's the takeaway here? Addiction is a messy, multifactorial beast. It's developmental, biological, psychological, cultural, you name it. There's no one-size-fits-all model. It's human, it's complicated, and let's be real, it's totally exam-worthy. And there you have it, the etiology of addiction, served up with a side of hazelnut coffee and a sprinkle of academic chaos. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to take Bella and Daisy for a walk before they stage a protest. Until next time, my friends, cheers to learning, growing, and surviving uni one lecture at a time.